Okay, whether or not we're paying anything yet, yes we are. Port theater and economic development are items that are required to be paid. There's a clause in there that says we're not going to pay anything to Nanaimo until we connect, but that doesn't exclude the RDN. So part of that 12% increase next year includes the increase related to economic development in the Port Theatre. In addition to that, the expectation or the plan presented by Council is that monies that are in reserves right now are going to be used to pay the $1.3 million buy-in for the Winchelsea area, as well as the cost of the pipe, which is approximately $800,000. The expectation is that will be recovered through development. So now in order to get your money back, we have to develop the community. There's other costs involved as well. There's a clause 14 in the agreement that speaks to when Nanaimo enlarges their system, if we haven't paid enough yet, they're going to send us a bill, and it's payable within 30 days. My most distressing fact is both of my colleagues have said we haven't costed it out. We've signed an agreement. When it comes to the winds, they haven't costed it out what it's going to take to get water there. So in terms of signing the agreement, prior to figuring out these things, I find that the most distressing, and it commits, and there's the aspect that technically we don't have to connect, but why did we go through all this if we weren't intending to connect? Thank you.
Hi. Do you ever?
Sorry.
Oh, all right. I'm going to go with the lady in the red poppy, the fellow with the blue shirt, and I'm going to check poppies in that order. How's that? Sorry, okay, there's a lot of ladies with their poppy, but...
I'm Wendy Halsall, and I've lived on Sebastian Road for over 40 years. I grew up in Lantzville. I came here in 1953. What I'm interested in...
Are you directing your question to a specific candidate?
I don't mind whoever...
Okay.
You talk about the sewer up in Winchelsea. We were supposed to have ours done from Parker Road. It ended at Parker, all along Sebastian. Instead of that, they did up Peterson. So we really should be the next one that they're doing up Winchelsea. We enjoy where we live, and it's great in the summer to see our road lined with cars going down to the beach with their kids. Our beach is advertised. There is no sewer down there. It's all septic going out into the water. There's a creek behind our place. It's not even on the map. It's left to put out. There's no washrooms, and yet we want to kind of look like Qualicum. When people come to a beach,
Is your question more related to when we're getting sewer?
I would like to know when Sebastian is having sewer, when we're going to put a washroom down at the end of our road.
Okay, two questions.
There is no sewer here.
All right. Okay. Oh, I'm torn.
All right.
Yeah, your area was originally in phase 2 of the sewer. When it came to phase 2 of the sewer and our application for infrastructure grants, the provincial government had limited money in order to do the grants. And so phase 2 was cut back in scope. In terms of that portion of phase 2 would then be added to part of phase 3. So when phase 3 comes, which is commonly referred to as the Winchelsea area, the plan of the previous council up to 2011 was to complete that portion of phase 2, which would include your area as well in terms of the sewer. Correct, correct. And it's just because of limited funds, the government basically said, unless you cut it back, you're not getting any grant. So what we did is we cut it back, which cut off some of the area there, just to be added to phase 3 and move forward from there. And
so there's a... stated then, Winchelsea, Lower Lantzville.
Correct, but just for ease, we've just commonly referred to it as the Winchelsea.
Yeah, thank you.
There may be some light at the end of the tunnel on that one, because in 2015 we were looking, and of course it's dependent on government funding being available, and they do have some infrastructure funding coming, but we are budgeting over $6 million to expand the sewer. That dependent on government granting. It's to some extent like the water. We probably try to get some money from them to supply this, but it's on the books.
So you're confirming what Colin says.
Yeah, yes, exactly, and I confirm.
that as well. Thank you for asking the question. I went to a meeting yesterday afternoon, and that subject was also brought up about people using the beach and having facilities. So I want to ask you, would you be interested, or do you think the area would be interested in having a porta potty at the end of the street?
I think it's necessary in the summer.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
We have everything for dogs, but not for human
Okay.
beings.
Thank you.
Nice point. Thanks. The fellow behind you in the light blue shirt, yes, sir. Do you want to stand up?
John Halliwell, Langcrest Terrace. This is to Jack and Joe. On our flyers coming out during the last 12 months or so, we were promised as a public that we would be informed on the water issue. None of this happened. None of it transpired at all. I want to know why. You never had any public meetings on the water issue, and also, I spend probably more time at council meetings than any other resident does. And the night that you introduced, not on the agenda, but at the night of the council meeting, as an added issue, was the water negotiations. I pick up my agenda on Friday, it was not on there. Monday night I go to the meeting, you introduce this water negotiation issue. You probably had it, meeting, I believe, in council, in camera before the meeting, and then you throw it out and you pass the water agreement, with the exception of Councillor Denise Haim, I believe. Why on earth would you do that without giving the public good information on the water negotiations and then ram it through? The perception is that it's cloak and dagger.
Okay, okay. I think we get the gist of your question, that you'd like to know how the water issue.
I'm somewhat surprised that it comes from you, John, because you were one of the inputs to council and say, let's get on with this water deal here. But anyways, I'll respond. For one, the window was rapidly closing because of the elections in Nanaimo. I don't know to what extent any future Nanaimo council is going to be willing to provide this community with water. Number two, we were not making a financial commitment in a direct way. We had time. Number three, it was an election issue on just about every councillor that ran, that was elected and not elected, to move forward with this water deal for 10 years. So I was somewhat apprehensive the way it evolved, but certainly we had our reasons, and I feel comfortable with the decision that night.
I just wanted to add that it was a council decision, majority passed it. There was also another vote or member of council that did not vote for it, so it just wasn't Councillor Haim, and Andrew Mostad didn't support it as well. And Jack is quite right, and I guess for me all along, right or wrong, I've always felt the check valve was the local service area. They would have an opportunity to have input and to support if they wanted to.
I realize it wasn't directed to me because I'm not on council, but when it comes to the window closing, one of the reasons why negotiations took so long is to try and get a deal that worked for all of Lantzville. In terms of it, I've mentioned it a couple of times, people on Blackjack, people on Alger, people in Wood Acres area, wandering through that area and talking to people. I walked up to the door of one place on Elm, and they've got 5 Canadian Springs jugs sitting there on the front doorstep. And so I didn't even need her to answer the door to know that they weren't drinking their water. And I asked her, how long has it been since you drank your water? And she said 15 years. Those people are excluded with this agreement. Simple things, simple wording changes would make it so that that agreement works. So if they'd consulted with those people, if they'd done like they'd said for 14 months, then those issues would have come out, rather than people saying, well, I didn't know there was an issue in Wood Acres. There is an issue in Wood Acres. And it's great for the Winds that they get the opportunity, and they get the opportunity for the local area service. But they're not the only residents, and to use it as an excuse to push through an agreement that excludes residents, I just could never support.
Okay. Do you feel like your question was answered?
Not really. Perception and smoke and mirrors.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, you want to stand up, just give us your name and your question if you're directing it specifically to someone?
Yeah, sorry.
It's okay.
It's the glare back there.
Yes, sorry.
My name is Brian Blight. I was born here in 1947. My family have been here since before there was a Lantzville. So our loyalty isn't necessarily just to the current municipality. And my question really is about an economy of scale. We have come to shop in the
Are you directing your question to anyone specific, or?
I'm going to direct, if I direct it to one person, the others can still answer.
They can speak to it, but just, yeah.
I'm going to direct it to Colleen.
Okay.
We have come to shop in Nanaimo. We look for recreation in Nanaimo. We look for entertainment in Nanaimo. We go to school in Nanaimo. We get our sewer service from the regional district, but that's largely in Nanaimo. I can't think of many things we don't do in Nanaimo except garden and sleep. And now we're looking for a water source from Nanaimo. Maybe it's time to start talking about an economy of scale of one big municipality. What do you think about that?
That's a good question.
Well, I mean, as an accountant, I can tell you the pure economics would make it so we could save the cost of administration here by joining up with Nanaimo, no doubt. But keep in mind why we're Lantzville. Go back around mid-1990s, RDN's looking to put a landfill up in the foothills. Something that could potentially severely affect Lantzville residents. Lantzville residents rose up against that along with people in Extension, and they basically forced them to reconsider. At the time they were saying Cedar Road landfill's almost full. Well, about 3 weeks ago they announced they figure they got at least another 20 years out of the Cedar Road landfill. Lantzville is its own place for a reason. We believe in protecting what we have, and what that is that small town feel. Yeah, shopping in Nanaimo, actually it's great. It's a wonderful opportunity for us. We can keep both things. Should we amalgamate? I don't think so. There's a cost to it. But I think for most Lantzville residents, that independence is something that they're willing to pay for.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought there was a vote in 1975 on amalgamation and Lantzville turned it down. And I think there's some hard feelings over that as well. When I first came here, I have to say this. There were more stores here. I think the business community was more vibrant, and that worries me today. We had a bank that left. We had a Kingdom Cottage. We had a coffee shop. The bookworm was here, and they're all gone. So we have to, in the next little while, take a look at some of these businesses and how we can support them. Thanks.
Yeah, we made it an incorporated community, or we voted on that some 10 years ago, and it exists. And so we work within the parameters of that particular vote and that election. Obviously, if we amalgamated, there would be savings, and they would be considerable. But I think the desire on the community is not to do so. So I certainly am not going to support to go into that direction at all. Just another comment on costs and water. This community has been losing population. Between the two census, we lost 2% of our people. And you know, water is a contributing factor. It drives some growth, and we need to do some in-building. I see the budget, and you know, you do a little stretch of paving, and it covers 5-6 homes, where there could be maybe 7 or 8. You drive through Lantzville and you see the vacant lots. That's unsustainable. Where the properties exist and where they were zoned as RS1 into the official community plan, we need to give those people an opportunity to build a home. Not for, you know, both to contribute to our population, to our school, but also because of this the distribution of costs. So I think this allows us to move forward and into that direction.
This fellow here, do you still have your question that you wanted to ask, or? Yeah, and then I'll come to you next.
Thank you. Yes, Gary Goudia, I've lived in the community since '99. I have a question for Mr. Bratkowski, in fact, dating back to his summer council meeting, I believe, and I hope I'm paraphrasing you correctly. You remarked that you sort of prefer to live in a community with the fewest possible regulations and bylaws. Do you stand by that, and how do you see that fitting in with the role of mayor?
When we moved here, thanks, Debbie. When we moved here for a couple of reasons. It just wasn't the wonderful community and the beaches and the friendships and stuff like that. We didn't want a lot of rules. One of them is backyard burning. We wanted to burn in the backyard. I know this council has taken a lot of heat about that, and maybe it's time to take a look at it. Maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit, but I'm not for a lot of rules. No. Did that answer your question?
Okay, so you would do away with, say, for example, the fireworks bylaw?
Not necessarily, because no. I want to. You asked a question. Give me a chance to answer it. I went to the firemen's fireworks display. I loved it.
Good for you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, my name is Louise Niegrave. I have a question for Colin Hain. It's my understanding that quite some time ago, Councillor Hain made a motion to complete phase 2 of the end trail. The expected cost for that was going to be $2.2 million, and there was an expected grant of $400,000, so a cost to the district of $1.8 million. Earlier, you quoted that $150,000 deficit would be a 12% tax increase to the district. So I did some quick math with my calculator, and that would mean 1.8 million would be a 144% tax increase to the district. Do you support that?
Boy, I figure you should ask the lady over there. She's the one that raised the issue.
Bring it on.
When it comes to the aspect of something like trails, first of all, the idea of extending the E&N Trail actually dates back to the previous council. And what there was a grant program in effect that would have allowed Lantzville to apply for additional grants to extend the E&N Trail from Ware Road towards Superior. There was no plan at doing it all the way when it comes to Superior. What there was the thought that what we could do is we could extend the E&N Trail from where it was on Ware to just past the industrial part and then tie back into Harvey Road, which was considerably less than that cost. Put it in the perspective of the first section of E&N Trail that we built. One half of that cost was covered by gas taxes. The other half was paid for by a provincial infrastructure grant. So essentially there was no local taxation that paid for that. When it comes to extensions of trails and things like that, it does have to be affordable. It does have to be something that the community can pay for. And also the other factor is when it comes to that, that's not a regular operating item when it comes to the financing side of things. The $150,000 deficit that I'm referring to is a result of increases for things like planner costs at $100,000 that are going to occur each and every year. You build a trail once, it's done. When it comes to those other operating costs, to fund those through tax increases just creates a never-ending spiral with regards to our costs.
Proposed, right? Proposed.
I distinctly remember that motion. I think it was my second meeting, and boom, there went the whole year's budget. And so, you know, we wouldn't have had any funds to do anything else. And I get teased at the RDN because they're going to extend the trails in Parksville. They got government grants, and they call our trail, and it's a very valuable and a useful trail, but they still tease me because they call it the $1,000 per meter trail. So, you know, it's probably one of the most expensive ones on Vancouver Island.
All right. Okay. Would you like to stand up and let us know who you are, and if you're directing your question to anyone specific?
My name is Bob Cocliffe. I'm just getting over a cold. My name is Bob Cocliffe. I have a non-politically motivated question. I'm part of a blended family with 6 kids. They range in age from 14 to 28. Each one of them would like to live in Lantzville. I admit up front I'm part of the problem. I expect to be taken out of Lantzville in a box. So what happens here is people move to Lantzville, they raise a family. The people don't move, so that house doesn't become available for new families. And I'd like to know what each of the candidates has, suggestions they have for creating new housing for new families in Lantzville.
Okay, so is it new housing, affordable housing?
Just new housing.
Just new housing for people. Who would like to take that first? Anybody? Who would take that?
Of course, with the limitations of our existing water supply, there is no new housing. There is no affordable housing. It's impossible. There's no seniors housing. Everything, even secondary suites, there's great apprehension on the part of council to legalize secondary suite because it implies we're giving them water. They exist. I know where they exist. Council knows they exist, that we can't legalize them because we don't have water. And so this water deal will give us the opportunity to build some of that lower cost housing. It's development driven. It will require council improvement, but as long as it's within the parameters of the OCP, I think we will see some seniors housing. We will see some lower cost housing in this community. I don't know any of the other councils want to.
All right, okay, boys. No, that's why I'm here. All right. We're just going to take this lady in the turquoise. Yep.
I'm Mary Elward, and I live on Lorenzen Lane. First of all, I want to thank the existing council for giving Lantzville an opportunity to grow and become healthy again, vibrant. It is a beginning. We shouldn't be arguing about this.
Can we, if you have a question, I was considering a 20-second rant, so that was your 20-second rant. So if you can give us a question. Okay.
My question is to Colin Hain. Why are you being so negative towards an agreement that I'm sure you wouldn't be if you had put it forward? So that's my question, is why are you not working with everybody to put this agreement more positive into our community?
Okay, thank you.
Well, I mean, in terms of it, would this be an agreement that I would enter into? No, I would not. Again, go back to those people on Blackjack, those people on Algernon. When it comes to those people were excluded from the agreement. Yes, they are excluded.
It's the beginning, it's not excluded. They can be included in 5 and 10 years. No, you can't.
Actually, hang on. Actually, if I may.
Yep.
Okay. When it comes to the reason why those people are excluded, the additional connections done by Nanaimo, the 50 connections, are dedicated only to new development. Period. So with that existing agreement, as it is written, those people do not have access to water. On top of that, you've got the consideration that those development houses are going to occur in Upper Lantzville. When it comes to the standpoint of Lower Lantzville is the place where things like seniors housing, patio homes, etc. should happen. It should happen by the core, which will help create that vibrant core that people desire. There's talk about changing the 225 connections in Upper Lantzville and switching those to Lower Lantzville. Based on our existing water standards, those cannot be transferred. So unless you drop the water standards, those cannot be transferred. When it comes to the standpoint of council is working on an engineering report as to what the status of our water system is, but they signed the water agreement prior to getting that report. So in terms of negativity, there's a realistic side of things. People have different opinions with regards to the agreement, and when it comes to it, I don't view this agreement as the way to go. A simple change of that clause with regards to the 50 units to where it says those 50 units can be used for any properties. Nanaimo doesn't care where they go. A connection's a connection. So in that respect there, I think it should go to existing residents first and then development.
You know, it's interesting. Mr. Haim thinks this is cast in stone. From my perspective, we have the ability now to make use of an agreement with Nanaimo. It's easier to go back to Nanaimo and ask for a change than ask for one. You know, and so I don't think all these objections really will stand up or will meet the test of time. Thank you.
Any more questions?
I got one.
It's not about water.
I think it should be not the same people all the time. You know, I don't.
I've asked one question. You've never answered my questions in the council chambers. I'd like to ask you. And it's not about water.
Okay, the candidates would just like to answer one question per, like, sort of per person, stand up. But I think the room has a lot more questions about the water, and they.
There was an individual at the back. I don't know. He raised his hand.
Okay, maybe I can't see him because of the post. Sorry, oh, sorry. I couldn't see because of the post. I'll come over to you and lady in the purple shirt in just a second. Can I just get the fellow in the back, and then I'll come to you? Do you want to tell us who you are?
Thank you.
Sorry.
Roger Green. I live in Woodacres, which is in Upper Lantzville. I don't know how many people there are here from Upper Lantzville. Are there any? The rant is that we live in the Forgotten Triangle. It's been mentioned, Blackjack, Alger, Clark, Phantom, Manhattan, Royal, Falls Road. We have no water, we have no sewer, and we have no fire protection. Going forward, what is Council's thought on what I call the Forgotten Triangle of land?
All right. Anybody can take that?
Like I said earlier, you know, we have roughly 1,300 homes, which includes that particular area. The agreement with Nanaimo, as I said earlier, is not casting concrete in terms of the distribution of the 50. It says it's for new development. I think we can, if need to, we could go back to their council to make some amendments to that. But it will be very hard to go back and ask them for a new water agreement. So I'm more optimistic about making a minor revision as opposed to say we don't like this water deal, shove it, and you know we want a new deal. So I'm going to be, if re-elected, working to try to resolve that issue for that area.
As I mentioned before, just a change in that one clause would give the ability to provide water in that area, and along with that comes fire protection. I must take a bit of an issue with the mayor. I believe that there was a letter posted on the log.ca within the last day or two by Mr. Blood. There was a response posted by our mayor, and in that response he says he did not believe that the agreement could be changed. So I'm a little bit confused by the fact that he's now saying it can be changed. The log.ca, check it out.
That's entirely correct. Within the existing time frame, elections are coming up. If this new council goes back to Nanaimo in January, if it's a new council, I don't think they'll get anywhere. And so it's within that parameter that I made that comment.